everybody. This is Love from Above with your Sibling Spirit Guides. I'm Maureen, and this is my brother.
Hey, this is Brian. Hi, everyone.
Hello, everybody. We're so happy to be here. If you can believe it, on this podcast, we share daily channelings we receive from star beings, ascended masters, mythical beings who really exist, and occasionally our ancestors. And today's topic is meditation and mudras. And boy, this first one, Brian, is really a shocker for me. What about for you? We're talking about a new mudra that they have advised us to use.
Yeah, this is amazing. I mean, we've read a lot of, books on spirituality and stuff, and never have I come across this. And it's so interesting that, um, well, why don't we just get into it? It is very interesting.
Okay. And what I find so interesting is, I'll talk about this after we get into it. So this was from December 4th of this year. It says, we are known as the Angelic Light Force. Open your hands. You shall receive what most others want, the loving embrace of the divine. Yeah, who does not want the loving embrace of the divine? I'm opening my hands. We call upon others who wish to reunify with their hallowed brethren to open their hearts, minds, and hands while in the stillness of a restful pose, so that they may receive the glory and the fulfillment of God's promise. Keeping your hands open is essential. The traditional prayer position indicates the heart is closed, the mind is closed. Right. I got to stop there because what I kept on thinking about was like all the statues of Mary I've seen all over the world. And, we need to invert the statue of Mary to have her hands open. What do you think about
I
that?
know. So it's interesting. So I am sure we get into this, but don't you think this is a purposeful? Uh, I mean, how did things get that everyone has the prayer position with their hands clasped together in a closed position, and when it's totally wrong, and it's really interesting. I just, I mean, we could talk all about organized religion, and obviously there's a lot of issues with that, but it just so baffles the mind that, like you said, I mean, this is every church you go to, that's what you see.
Right.
So
Every statue of Mary, her hands, or in case I take that apart, sometimes the babe is in the arms, but if the babe is not in the arms, the baby Jesus, then the hands are clasped. And yeah, it's just so if the heart, if your hands are closed like that, it's saying that your mind is closed and your heart is closed. So how can you be open to receive? That is just mind-boggling. I just can't get over that one. But they go on to say that hand positions can signify greater receptivity. The importance of keeping the hands open in the receptive position cannot be overstated. Reverse your prayer pose to the open palm to receive. So yeah, and I'll tell you, Brian, so I meditate in the morning and the night, and what does it take, like 21 days to adjust to a new routine? I think it's going to take longer than that because I've been meditating in all this time with my hands closed, and so now I try and I'm turning them over, and then I'm thinking, oh geez, my hand, it's drawing my attention instead of like just being mindless. It's drawing my attention to my hands. Have you tried this at all?
yeah, because sometimes even when we do like the Merkaba, um, my hands before I read this were sort of downward facing, and so I definitely try and make sure they're open when I'm doing it. So it does it is really interesting that you know we've all had it wrong, so to speak. So I'm glad to clear the air on this one. This is great information.
Yeah, so then they go on with the suggested meditation with a mudra. And this was from our old friends Aura, were the first star beings who contacted us way back in 2023. This was on November 27th of this year. They said, "We urge those who listen to perk up their ears, for we only broadcast messages of love and hope. There is more for the human to experience should you open your eyes to the real existence of this nurturing planet. How does this occur? It is likened to a baby opening its eyes for the first time. The baby can only see myopically what is in front of him. The same is true for the human. However, you can be skilled at glancing forwards, behind, sideways to see all that is splayed out for your pleasure. We offer an opportunity to use this skill. We ask that the humans interlock the first two fingers." Okay, I'm going to stop right there because I thought the first two fingers, I just was thinking the thumb touching the first two fingers. But Brian, you just pointed out they're talking about basically like having the good, you know, good luck symbol. Like,
Well, I'm not sure. As we're gonna ask for clarification because is it like crossing your fingers? Is it interlocking the first two fingers from both hands together? So I will get clarification on this, but anyway, yeah, so it says interlock the first two fingers together, which yeah, it makes it seem like, you know, what's the terminology we had when kids for crossing your fingers? Yeah.
right,
So I don't know. It's interesting. But I was gonna just say, if for those aren't familiar, mudra, they go on to it's a suggested mudra, and just defining what a mudra is just like a hand gesture. Um, and then they go on to say this mudra, as it's called in your vernacular language, allows the circulation of energetic forms to be realized in a pleasing manner. With the spine erect and the hands in the appropriate position, we ask that you visualize the tendrils of loving creation entering through the pineal gland located in the ulterior portion of the brainal sac. And to see this, humans most frequently use the third eye located between their eyebrows, then slanting downwards the base of the skull at an angle that will locate the important gland. So let me pause there. I mean, you might have some thoughts. I know we've uh, talked about or learned about the pineal gland with Dr. Joe Dispenza's meditations and things like that. How do you? He always mentioned it's sort of like at the back of the throat, or like, but how do you try and find it if you're trying to locate the pineal gland for like a meditation?
yeah, behind the throat. That's a good one. So yeah, it's like literally in the back of your head. If you would take kind of like I'm putting my fingers toward the back of the head and kind of like the middle of the back of your head. And it apparently, if you take from like your third eye, which is in between your eyebrows, it angles downward towards that. And that's like the key. Like that's what connects us with everything. So when we were working with Dr. Joe, I mean, I still use that 4 hour pineal gland meditation a couple times a week. And I'll tell you, it's definitely activating. That's for darn sure. And then I will tell you with these mudras. So like the mudras, I think goes back to the Hindu culture. And let me tell you, these mudras have power. I've been doing just the mudra that I thought we were supposed to do, which is putting your thumb and touching the first two fingers of your hand. And let me tell you, like I'm just doing that right now, and I can feel like a power with it. Like I can feel like, ooh. So I don't know. Have you explored any of these mudras? I almost want to get like a book on mudras, or, Google YouTube videos on mudras, because there's definitely something to it.
No, just from our Merkaba meditation that we do, that's available. I think it's available. I listen to one on Spotify from Drenvalo Melchesnik or whatever. But and I can put a link in the show notes, but in there he does the one that you're talking about. Well, you actually your touch he has you do different mudras, touching your different fingers, and then when you're talking, holding the first two fingers in your thumb, and then one like a restful position with your fingers interlocked and your thumbs touching. But I mean that's the only sort of mudras that I'm familiar with. I know there's been, a lot out there about mudras. You're right. That might be an interesting topic to sort of delve into one of these days.
Yeah, I think I'm going to check it out. So then they go on to, so they want you to be in this position with the mudra and the visualizing the tendrils of loving creation entering through the pineal gland. Then they say with the hands in the proper position and a pleasing breath, which means a full inhale matched by the exhalation. The breath is vital to the human energetic force. Now that you've assumed the breath and the proper position, you may notice the calming, centering energies of the pink and purple violet light entering through the crown of the physical form. When this occurs, the general undulations of the physical body cease, and the calmness of one-minded, an unknown word, I didn't know what they were talking about, begins to occur. This shall be an important step in realizing the true nature of one's world. So have you tried this, Brian?
Yeah, well, I mean, I have, and I mean, it's always, the breath is so important. I mean, we've read so many different things about that, and it's important to, you know, take those deep breaths, especially if you're stressed. Um, there's the 4-7-8 breath. Sometimes if you, it's inhale for 4, hold for 7, and exhale for 8. But this is they're talking about sort of equally inhale and exhale in the and using this mudras, and it does have a dramatic effect. Especially um, if you're sort of stressed, this really calms the whole body down, and um, I do really mindful of breathing, and in addition with these mudras can really have a big impact on you.
Yeah, the breathing is definitely I remember it was years ago, and I like some of my guides who were around me, they're like, well, if we would give you one guidance, it would be not to be a shallow breather. And I was like, oh geez. Um but yeah, so I haven't tried this one yet. So just to repeat, what they want you to do is to cross the two fingers to sit erect and visualize the tendrils of loving creation entering through the pineal gland, and then having an equal inhale, an equal exhale. And then you should be able to see calming pink and purple violet energies entering through your crown chakra into your physical form. So I don't know. I'm going to have to give this one a try.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So they go on to talk about the four square meditation. The next topic it says, from we are the watchers. We wish to introduce a new concept to you and your brother. This is a concept of four square. It is similar to the cardinal points and the anchoring of the energetic planes. With the access of two additional people, you can create a four square which provides unique mobility within the universal spectrum of energetic light. The four square is best achieved with a balance between like-minded parties. It's something to consider as you move forward to balance your energies and anchor further into the higher vibrational frequencies that surround this planet. So this is interesting. We have not done this, but we know, I mean, just the power of group meditation and meditating and things like that. And so but the four squares does sound really interesting. What are your thoughts?
Well, it was interesting when I channeled this because they talk about like Foursquare like it's a term, like it's a term that terminology. I almost wanted to look up on ChatGPT, like, is four square like a term? But it is interesting, the power of four. I meditate a couple times a week at least with my son. And let me tell you, that's a beautiful thing to be able to share energetic space. We just do it over, Facebook Messenger. So, but yeah, I can imagine with two other like-minded parties, that would be really, really, really powerful. Um, yeah, I would love to be able to do that. And then the other interesting thing that I came to mind is I just flew in from Asia and I sent Brian photos. Like, I can't tell you how many, well, in Bali, which is Hindu, there were no fours in a lot of my hotels, and there wasn't a 14 in one of my hotels because four is associated with the Hindu god Brahma, who's the destroyer. And then I moved on to Malaysia, which is Muslim, and they didn't have any fours either because four is associated with death. So I don't know. Just what do you think about that? Four is death, and then four is obviously a very strong concept to be able to employ this powerful meditation.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of that, but it is interesting. I don't know if it's, and they talked about the cardinal point, or I don't know, what was it? They said
The cardinal points.
the cardinal points. I didn't know what they meant by that either.
That's north, south, east, west.
Okay, okay. So yeah, that's sitting. That's what I was thinking, sitting um, in every direction. So it's something at some point we'll have to try with. We have to find two other people to do it with, but it's something we'll have to add to our list to do and follow up with everyone on this. But I just know from our Dr. Joe meditations, there is just so much power in, when you're doing meditations with others that I can see that. And they had, similarly, they had healing sessions that we did as well. So I can definitely.
Yeah, I mean, don't you remember the woman in our group? I mean, that there was a woman in our group who I sat next to on day one, and she was in a wheelchair. And day two, she was dancing on the dance floor. Now that's, do you remember
Yeah,
Sandra?
I do remember her.
That's a big jump. Sitting in a wheelchair next to me on the dance floor, and it's from the healing power of love and these energies. Like that was crazy. I mean, I will never forget that, Brian. I will never forget that.
Yeah, me either. That was great. Why don't you
Yeah.
go to the next one? Because I know you're really familiar with the next visualization or meditation.
You know what, Brian? I was doing this every day and I kind of forgot about this until I put together this podcast, but I was doing this every day. That kind of gave me my understanding when I channeled this was like, you want kind of like a shortcut to zoom to like a really good space? Here it is. So it was a visualization of the white bird. It was another message from our good friends Aura. They said, we wish to offer a suggestion to raise the daily vibrations of the brother-sister pair. Imagine a white bird, a bird of pure white, divine light. This bird is pure of the reflections of this particular incarnation. It is the I am that you so frequently call on, Maureen. Imagine this bird residing above your head, for that is where the bird most frequently habituates. However, should you pull the bird into your throat chakra, down through your body so that it may nest within the gloriousness of your own heart, this shall provide the greatest benefit of all beings. We suggest you commence these visualizations at once. It shall improve the resonance of your daily lives. So, like I said, I was doing this every day when I would go out and do my meditation. They also insisted that we do where we connect to the heaven and we connect to the earth. I would just, I mean, how long does it take to visualize a bird on the top of your head and then just pull it through your body? And I was doing it every day. I need to get back to doing it. Um, but yeah, that was my understanding, is that this would just kind of be a shortcut to getting you into a really high vibration. Did you ever try this, Brian?
Yeah, I did. But same with me. I totally forgot about this one. So thanks for the reminder on this. And what did you like have as you sort of like a visualization of like a dove? Is that what you used, or what any specific bird or
Actually, I'm going to put the Brian and I have a Twitter account. I'm going to find this photo and I'm going to put it on Twitter today. So my son, this is what I visualize. My son, this is one of the, mystical
from
events.
Toronto? The picture from Toronto.
Yeah. And there was a white bird that was flying through him. And I was
I
like,
took that picture. I remember
did
that.
you? I don't
Yeah.
remember you taking that picture, but those were back in the day where it wasn't, you didn't take them on your cell phone and see immediately. You'd sent in the roll, and a couple days later, you got back the footage. And I looked at that. And I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" And I looked and see if it was on the negative, and it was. And you know what was interesting? I asked our aunt, who's the nun, and she was like, "It was a mistake it was a mistake in developing the picture." But then I asked our other aunt, and Aunt Janet, and she was like, "He had his first communion already," because he was like 2 or 3 at the time. He didn't have his first communion, but it was literally like the Holy Spirit was flying through him. So I'm going to find that picture. I'm going to put it on Twitter. What's our Twitter account, Brian? Is it Love from Above podcast?
It is Love from Above Pod. Or no, actually, it's Love. Here, I'll look it up as why don't you go on the next one because it's actually something different. So I'll pull it up in a second here.
Okay. So then I'll go on to the closing. This was recently. I just love getting these loving messages. Can I ever get enough of them? No. So this was on December 8th of this year, and it says, "We are known as the Watchers. However, our force combined with those actual Watchers, we are subset of angelic light forces who assist with their immense capacities. We are a light force brigade. We encircle the planet at all times. We search for those in need of our services. We are likened to an on-call physician or an on-call dentist or veterinarian. We are available to help always." I just feel better even reading that message. Don't you agree, Bri?
Totally. That's awesome.
Yeah. So did you find what are in the name of
Yeah,
our
yes, and it's also linked in all the podcasts. There is a link to it, but it's Love from Above 24. So that's the X or Twitter account. But again, it'll be a link on whatever podcast, however you're consuming the podcast. There's a link. But yeah, and if you have any questions, we're also available at love from above podcasts at gmail.com. And I think that's it. Anything else, Maureen?
Nothing else. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and we'll talk to you next week.
Bye, everyone.